and I yield.
Gentleman yields back. The chair recognizes Mr. Obernolte from California for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you very much to our witnesses. This has been an incredibly poignant hearing for me. I represent an extremely rural section of California. You wouldn't think that my district would be a district that would have a problem with fentanyl, but we do. In the last 18 months, my district has experienced an over 600% increase in the number of fentanyl-related deaths, which is incredible. My most difficult day in 19 years of public office was last fall when I had a constituent lose both of her sons in the same afternoon to the same fentanyl poisoning incident. So this is a problem that has its tentacles in every part of our country, and it's something that I'm convinced that government, and in particular Congress, needs to play an active role in fixing. I want to talk about a couple of kind of difficult topics, and one of them is I wish we would stop using the word overdose. The vast majority of these incidences when someone dies from fentanyl is not an overdose, it is a poisoning. They did not intend to take fentanyl, not to defend the fact that they thought it was oxy or some other opioid, but this substance was intentionally introduced into a pill that they took, and they did not have the knowledge of what they were taking. As has been discussed here, Narcan has been a godsend, and it has meaningfully decreased the number of fentanyl-related deaths in my community as we've gotten it into more schools, more law enforcement. Unfortunately, we're seeing a new problem in my district, which is the problem of xylazine. Xylazine does not respond to Narcan. So, and we don't have a way right now of saving someone who is suffering from xylazine poisoning. That problem is just going to increasingly get worse. Chief Saravola, I'd like to ask you, with your law enforcement experience, there's a fundamental difference here between preventing opioids like oxycodone from being in our community, because there's a legitimate prescription path for that. And so a lot of the oxy that we see diverted is diverted from someone who has a legitimate prescription, or it comes from overprescription through legitimate channels. But fentanyl and xylazine, that is a completely different thing. You'd think that if we could get that off the street, yes, we would still have a problem with substance abuse and opioid use, but we wouldn't have nearly as many people actually dying from it. So what can we do more to get substances like fentanyl and xylazine off the street?
I guess the best thing to do is more enforcement and get the courts to work with us, because so many times we see somebody get off on some things. It's like, that's something that the person should pay the price for. You know, that's a dealer providing these drugs to the community. That person shouldn't get a light sentence.
So you're suggesting sentence enhancement for crimes like intentional incorporation of fentanyl into a pill?
One of the things we always try to do at a death scene is we'll try to seize the phone. A lot of times we can go through that phone and see who the provider was, and then we can go after that person. I know my most recent case, when I did get to that point, by the time I figured out who it was, he had also passed away. I do notice that there must be some bad batches that come in sometimes, because you'll see a spike. Like everybody must have got some of this bad batch of heroin. That I don't know, that's the only way I can figure out how you can have a spike in like a week and then it'll go right down. It has to just be a bad batch.
Right. In speaking with my own local law enforcement, they have found that often the local dealers are unaware that fentanyl has been introduced into what they think they're pressing into oxy pills. And it's actually the higher up links in that drug supply chain that have that knowledge. But,
right.
But I completely agree with you.
I can believe that.
Well, I think we're going to do another round of questioning, so I'll save my next question instead of going over time. But thank you very much for your testimony. I yield back, Mr. Chairman.